Before we start the video, there are a few things that I need to get out of the way. My name is Dreeft and I played a huge part in this challenge. You never saw me in the video, but I was there in the background along the entire journey. Also, this may not cover everything that happens, whether that be small little events, factions, or anything else of the sort, so keep in mind that I'm trying my best to cover everything that I can. At the end of this challenge, I tasked myself in making this huge documentary. So without further ado, this is the first part of the MrBeast Mining Challenge documentary. Our story starts with the challenge itself. It was quite simple on paper. 100 players were invited into a MrBeast gaming server to compete in an event. According to the announcements, the players were oblivious to what the challenge actually was. And boy, they were not prepared for what was coming next. Soon before the challenge started, the players were informed that they needed to break a lot of blocks, all by themselves. Pluto expected this challenge to last 3 to 4 days, but he really didn't know for sure. Stick around to see how long it really took. When players logged in, they were faced with a glass box in which they could not break out of. As soon as MrBeast was done with his intro, the glass dropped to the floor. Players immediately rushed for the trees, which seemed to be the easiest strategy at the time. Almost all players were using shears, hoes, and even their hands to mine any leaves they could. The only thing motivating players to mine those blocks was the adrenaline and the thought of a prize. Soon after the challenge started, MrBeast joined the voice chat. Whenever MrBeast joins the voice chat, something big is about to go down. This time was no different. Players were soon informed that the goal was 1 million blocks. It seemed crazy, and well, it was. He then added on saying the grand prize was $30,000. Things then got pretty serious. Very soon after, players began to lose interest in the challenge. Nobody was willing to dedicate so much time to a challenge for such little money. The thought of just sitting at a computer screen mindlessly mining blocks for days on end just didn't interest people for whatever reason. The MrBeast crew had to think of something fast before this challenge was scrapped. The team then thought of a foolproof solution. During this whole time, the first group was running around spawn, just kinda doing their thing. This group was known as the Rue Cult, and they definitely had a significant presence for the first few hours of this challenge. They operated out of the sky base at spawn and held a variety of events. From stand-up comedy to talent shows, they always had something to do. Their main focus was to give people who didn't want to participate in the challenge something fun to do. Very soon after their beginnings, they lost almost all of their significance with the founding of a new group. At 8 PM EST, 10 hours after the challenge started, more players were invited. Believe it or not, around 1,200 players were raffled into the challenge at this point. This is where some of the most important players joined. I was included in those important players, and to be honest, I had no idea what was coming. When I arrived, things seemed quite organized. The Rue Cult was in full swing, and they were having an awesome time atop their skybase. I wanted to join them for some fun, but they never responded. Over the next few hours, more and more projects arose across the map. From villages to chunk mines, there was a huge array of different things to find. Let's focus on one project, started by a player named Wumdy. On the first day, Wumdy decided to build the village. It was pretty simple with just a few houses. Over time, the village grew bigger and bigger, and with that came a lot of griefers. Many of them decided to destroy the base, but thankfully, there were some nice people who helped out and rebuilt the village. Overall, it's a great story of players coming together to build something everyone can enjoy. Here's the issue. Only a small fraction of players had a part in any sort of projects across the map. This caused some problems. Most players didn't want anything to do with the challenge, considering the person in first place had over 100,000 blocks mined. That is, until 1Q announced his plans. If you don't know who 1Q is, he is one of the most important members that participated in this challenge. His role in this challenge was so significant, it changed the entire course of the challenge. He started up a public tree farm in the very corner of the map for anyone to join as long as they could find it.
I want to have a public tree farm to give everybody else that felt like they were behind in the server a chance.
1Q then announced his plans, not knowing what was to come. The only thing he mentioned was the existence of the farm. Of course, this comes as no surprise. If you're going to try and win a challenge like this, you have to team up. Let's leave 1Q for a while. On the opposite side of the map, a player by the name of Crafty Masterman decided to start what I've named the Chunk Village. This is a 4-chunk area that was mined out to the bedrock that has a Minecraft village at the bottom. This includes a church, houses, contributors board, and much more. When people got bored of the project, Joe Scruffy decided to take over. Here's what he has to say about the project.
When I joined, there was about 8 or 10 people at a time mining the chunk.
Why did everyone leave?
Probably because chunk mining is a very tedious and slow and boring process. So A bunch of people left to go do other things like join Team Ocean or like mess around with TeamTrees and whatnot.
Why did you decide to stick around?
I'm pretty stubborn, so like once I saw something, I kind of have to finish it. So I just decided to stick with it. I had this cool idea to like build a mega base kind of in there, so like no one could see. But at the end, I just decided to put a village in there. I was hoping for like a little screen time in a service video, like kind of everyone else wanted to in that challenge. But I was just happy because it's probably the biggest build I've ever done in Minecraft. So I was really excited when I got it done.
After hearing of this tree farm, I dropped my leave mining to go see what they were all about. The fact that 1Q didn't disclose the coordinates definitely protected him a little bit. I was searching around for 15 minutes before he just sent me a DM with the exact coordinates. Once I had those, I was on my way. I soon arrived and immediately was set to work. Turns out, I was one of the first workers to get there. The first thing I did was grab all the wood that 1Q mined and used it to build the chest wall. To be honest, I have no idea why I did this. As I continued to do this, an explorer found a skeleton spawner just off the coast to the nearby tree farm. 1Q asked me if I was experienced in mob spawners, and of course, I was. I headed over there to build a skeleton spawner when the explorer met me there. We both continued to build the farm and ground out skeletons for the next 45 minutes. 1Q then decided we really didn't need that many bones, so I headed back knowing that I helped out at least a little bit. When I came back, 1Q needed help coming up with a name for the tree farm. Considering that we were farming trees in a Mr. Beast event, I knew the perfect name for us. TeamTrees. I definitely thought we would get some brownie points for that name. You'll have to see if we did. Things continued as normal for quite a while as the new members joined in. We saw Afghanistan join in, which was one of the biggest OG helpers for TeamTrees. His job for the beginning, and pretty much the whole time, was just to fish. He was so good at his job that I built him a little hut for him to fish without burning in the sunlight. As more and more interest for TeamTrees began to arise, we needed to make sure everyone coming in was safe and had no ill intention. So I devised a plan to make a watchtower on the outside corner of the base to watch anyone that would be coming in. To be honest, I saw absolutely nobody atop that tower. Things seemed to be going well once again. 1Q was mining trees, and I was expanding the base. People were helping plant trees, fish, and mine. There wasn't much for me to do besides make sure that people were doing their jobs, so I decided to build myself a little office atop the TeamTrees base. I sat there for quite a while, not really doing much besides following occasional orders and watching over the workers. To be honest, this just sounds like a human rights violation. Everything was going well for a while until someone leaked the coordinates to TeamTrees. This allowed any griefers to head over to the base and do whatever they pleased. You may not know this, but PvP was off. This means players will have to find more creative ways to kill each other. This is where the lava bucket comes into the field. Soon, large amounts of players would flock to the base looking to cause harm. Among those players was the notorious Christens. This player has been known to murder other players just for walking in their path. They were also a fan of breaking player-built structures as well, which, as you can guess, causes a problem for TeamTrees.
When people started raiding TeamTrees, it was mostly with the first raid from, I believe it was Prolex. It kind of felt like awful, because I felt like a lot of hard effort that we put into the base was being destroyed. And while I understand it's competitive, at the same time, I didn't feel too bad about like myself and my position, because I knew I could rebuild any second I needed to and move out. I felt bad more so for the people who were putting a lot of effort into the base and just lost it all.
The second that they arrived, Kristen started to lava bucket people. This immediately caused a base-wide panic among the workers, and even 1Q. The workers did their best to fight back with their lava buckets, but they were defeated due to their lack of armor. After seeing TeamTrees go into siege, 1Q needed to think of something fast. He then called me up to the rafters and we discussed a plan that was in the back of our heads this whole time. We needed to move fast. So that's what we did. We took everything valuable and left. Somehow, nobody noticed us leaving, that is, until a few moments after we were gone. We ran in just a single direction, somewhere far away from the original base. This is where we found the desert. To be honest, it was super scary leaving that place. TeamTrees was the only place that so many people felt safe, and that safety was now taken away with the leaders fleeing. Not only did we leave the main TeamTrees base, but we also decided to go invite only to avoid any griefers from joining us. We decided to only take in previous trusted members of TeamTrees. Let's just say people were not happy about this. Many smaller members and contributors wanted to help out and continue to help TeamTrees, but they couldn't because they weren't allowed to. Looking back on it, I would have done my best to get as many members into the new TeamTrees as possible. Obviously, I don't have a time machine to go back and change that. But people were still not happy with our decision. A group of players banded together, and a player by the name of Prolix stood up and created a new faction, called Team Forest. We don't know too much about them, but what we do know is that they were not fans of TeamTrees. They did everything in their power to beat us on the leaderboard. We immediately began to change the desert sand into dirt for the new trees. Overall, the TeamTrees members were quite exhausted from all the work over the last 24 hours, but we went back to what we were doing, just chopping trees down. But this time, things slowed down because we lacked one crucial thing. Back at the old TeamTrees base, we had plenty of people working to get rid of all the wood and extra leaves. We obviously didn't have those people to help us anymore, so things slowed down tremendously. Because of this, I decided to eventually log off for the night to get some rest. Or was it day? Honestly, I don't know. Nobody had a normal sleep schedule during this whole thing. Not much happened overnight, but when I woke up, things started to get a little exciting. When I woke up, things seemed to have stopped for the TeamTrees operation. There was no tree chopping and the desert base was abandoned. I thought we had completely dropped the challenge. That is, until 1Q showed me the secret base that he had been working on. Between the TeamTrees base and the TeamTrees desert base, there was a secret lab. This lab was a huge deal, but we didn't really know that yet. You didn't know this, but I had been keeping a huge stash of sugarcane around the map. I always had some growing and some in my inventory, just in case the plant's location was compromised. Inside this secret lab, there were a few things. There was an enchanting setup, just in case we needed it, and also a small sugarcane stash. Sugarcane was super rare, considering that it was broken all across the map. This sugarcane could be used for various things, such as books, and well, books. But having this seemingly simple plant was a huge flex of power. I took initiative and decided to stay at this laboratory and replant all the sugarcane that was there. The only reason I could think of doing this is just the fact that I wanted to have a monopoly of sugarcane on the server. Both me and 1Q were soon realizing that TeamTrees would make its final return. This is because of the new strategy that rose while I was away. All you had to do was mine dirt, gravel, or sand with an efficiency 3 and breaking 3 shovel. This was a huge deal, considering that everyone was just mining leaves up to this point. Things continued as normal for quite a while we prepared for the final push. That is, until we found something that would give TeamTrees an insane advantage. But you'll have to stick around for part 2 of this documentary on the Mr. Beast Mining Challenge. If this video goes as well as I want it to, then I will make a part 2, and you can see all the ending in insane detail. I want to thank everyone who helped me while I made this. Yet again, I apologize for taking so long. If you like this video, please make sure to check out the rest of my videos. I don't normally do things like this, so it's a little weird. Anyways, I'll see you in the next video.